A few years ago, I made a video about things I didn't want to show up in Club Penguin, but got in the game anyway. And one of the most common comments that I got from that video was, "Hey, Screenhog, what are some things that you did want in the game that never actually made it?" And I've been hesitant to make that video because honestly, being in a position of creative direction in Club Penguin for as long as I was, most of the things that I wished were in the game ended up in the game. A lot of them in the form of parties or mini games that like, wouldn't it be great if, oh man, we did it! And even some of the more far-fetched ideas like having Club Penguin be in 3 dimensions. Well, that ended up happening too. Yes, in Club Penguin Island, but even earlier than that, in Club Penguin Game Day for the Nintendo Wii. So I had very few pieces of unfinished business when I left Disney Online Studios in 2010, and that's made it really tough to make any kind of list of things I wished would be in the game. However, upon reflection over the last few years, I've realized, yeah, there are a few things that I would have wanted in Club Penguin. And so here's my list of my top 10.
Number 1. Space Station.
In the past, when people have asked me if I had anything that I wished was on Club Penguin that never made it into the game, my standard answer has been a space station. Specifically something like the International Space Station, a permanent hub in space that penguins could just rocket up to and be in, a special secret outside of the island room area that people could go to. What would you have done there? Well, for one thing, floating. You would move from place to place, but it would kind of be in this sort of very slow pattern. Your penguin would be rotating in space. You would look like you were all over the place and feel like you were actually in a zero-gravity environment. It could even have been that the snowballs that you threw in space, instead of taking a nice lobbing arc like they did in most places, they would have this nice wavy pattern before they landed. It also would have been an awesome place for mini-games. We could have reskinned Aqua Grabber to be a space Aqua Grabber and actually trying to grab things from various asteroids. And Astro Barrier, we could have made a sequel to that. I had ideas. I realized that there were space-themed stage plays or sci-fi space-themed parties, including that Star Wars party that happened, but I'm talking about a permanent space station place. As far as I know, it never happened, and I really think it should have.
Number 2. Puffle Bowling.
I think Puffle Bowling would have been awesome. I really wanted this to happen. Early in the history of the internet, there was this silly little Christmas-themed flash game called Elf Bowling, where you had elves as bowling pins and Santa was bowling a ball to try and knock them over. This was like pre-2000s kind of internet entertainment. And it was hilarious at the time, and I feel like Club Penguin needed its own bowling alley. But instead of elves being the pins, it would be regular pins, but the ball would be a puffle. You could choose what color of puffle you wanted in the game. There would probably be a few different choices that might change how you bowled. And it just seemed like puffles would be a natural bowling ball. Would it hurt them? No, it wouldn't hurt them. We already have, like, launching them with cannons. I don't think being a bowling ball would have been a problem. I think they would have liked it. That seems very puffly in nature. I guess the only problem would have been what rules of bowling would we have chosen? Would we have gone with the standard American 10-pin, or would we have gone with the Canadian 5-pin bowling, or would we have done just something wacky like Wii Bowling did on Wii Sports and have like 100 pins all set up or something like that? I did try mocking this up in Unity back in 2010 as like a 3D bowling prototype. Unfortunately, I don't have that anymore.
Number 3. Pool tables.
Following in the footsteps of games that would have required at least a little bit of physics, pool. Club Penguin, early on, was actually going to have a pool table in it. There was early concept art of the lounge area, second floor of the dance club, where there was going to be pool tables. However, we didn't add them to the game at launch because we were actually having issues of just the computing power required for certain parts of the physics simulation of it. So we delayed it until a later time that we could do it, and we just never did it. What I wish would have happened in Club Penguin for pool is probably a simplified version of the game. Instead of having a 15-ball pool game or even a 9-ball pool game, as are the standards, I would have gone with like 6 balls. Each player controls 3 balls, and your object of the game is to knock down your balls before the opponent knocks down theirs. Often in these kinds of 2-player games, you'd have an issue of players dropping out if they were feeling like things were too boring or just they weren't winning, and so they just wanted to drop out. So I feel like a 6-ball game of pool would have been the right length for the attention span of the average Club Penguin player without it feeling like it was getting too old.
Number 4. Custom Scavenger Hunts.
So scavenger hunts were not new to Club Penguin. We had things like Easter egg hunts all the time. What would have made these different is that they would actually have been player-created scavenger hunts. So you, as a player, would have been given items. Maybe they would be actual pins that you had collected in the past, or maybe they would have been special trinkets or balloons or something like that. Anyway, something small that you would be given an interface to actually hide in the world. So you go into scavenger hunt mode and you put in like a balloon in the snow forts, and then a balloon in the lodge attic, and a balloon in the underground cave or something like that. And then once you'd hidden everything where you wanted to hide it, you would flip a switch that was in your igloo. And when that switch was on, anyone visiting your igloo or seeing your name in the igloo drop-down list would see, oh, this person has an active scavenger hunt going. Do you accept the scavenger hunt? Sure. Click. Okay. Now, your scavenger hunt is playable by other players in the world. They can go around and find, I would say, between 6 and 8 things that you had hidden in the world. And if they succeeded at this, maybe they would get a small gift, like 20 coins or something like that. It would just be a way for you to create games for other players, or even for you to affect the world in ways that were outside your own igloo. We'd have to look through it. We'd have to get the community support department to decide whether or not this was a good idea. But I love the idea of players being able to change up the world for other people that they know or just other strangers to make the world more interactive, which is an especially welcome thing in times when the game wasn't having a party itself. When it was just regular vanilla Club Penguin, that's when you could do these scavenger hunts and set them up. I think that would have been cool.
Number 5. Better buddy lists.
So one of the disadvantages of Club Penguin launching when it did in 2005 is that there weren't a lot of established rules yet understood online for how internet friendships could work. What I mean is social media was still very young. There were things like MySpace, I suppose, but Facebook had just recently launched the year before and was really only open to like college and high school students. Twitter didn't even exist yet. Most social media sites that we know now simply weren't there. So we had to make up a lot of rules. And one of the things that I think we did poorly in hindsight were buddy lists. As buddy lists existed in Club Penguin, you would send a request to somebody you wanted them to be your buddy. They would accept and reply back, and then you were both buddies with each other. That was how we thought buddy lists made sense, because we figured these are friends that are meeting up and would want to know each other. And for some people, that was indeed what they wanted. But for other people, they didn't really want a two-way connection like that. What they wanted was just to follow people. They wanted to just say, I want to know you, and I want to know you, and I just want to follow what you're doing, and I want thousands of people like that. And they were kind of collecting other penguins as though they were playing cards, rather than trying to create mutual friend connections between people. And Twitter, when it launched, understood this. You could follow someone without that person having to follow you. And as far as online connections go, I think that would have suited Club Penguin better. I think that would have been a valuable addition to the game, and even as a way of keeping track of friends, even if they didn't necessarily want to keep track of you. Now again, with any kind of social system like that, we would have to have figured out ways of making that work well, because there is the opportunity for people to stalk others that don't want to be stalked, and so we would have to have worked out how that was going to play out. But I think that still would have been a better buddy friendship interaction.
Number 6, Mancala Tutorial.
Mancala is one of the oldest games in the world. It was an African game that existed at least 4,000 years ago in various forms. There are alternate rule sets for Mancala, there are different ways of playing, but Mancala as a game is one of the world's oldest games. And I'm so glad it was on Club Penguin for that history. But it is no secret that no one really knew how to play it. I mean, yes, a few people knew how to play it, but generally speaking, those Mancala tables were not well occupied. Not a lot of people were masters at Mancala. And it's a shame, because I think the solution to fix that would actually have been pretty easy. You see, 5 years before Mancala made it onto Club Penguin, it was on Rocket Snail's site. Lance Priebe, Rocket Snail, creator of Club Penguin, created Mancala as a Flash game. It was called Mancala Snails. And the nice thing about that game is that, yes, you could play it locally with somebody else as a human player, but you could also play against the computer. And playing against the computer taught you how to play the game. Club Penguin really would have benefited with a mode where you could go to a Mancala table and actually play against a computer opponent, learn how to play, and then be able to play against real players, just like we did with Card-Jitsu and the Sensei. I mean, the Sensei was cheating, he beat you all the time, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Number 7, Rockhopper Island.
I'm on the fence about this one. Rockhopper Island was one of the few remaining unsolved mysteries in Club Penguin. We never really officially visited it. It was just mentioned as the home of the Red Puffles and as a place where Rockhopper would get materials and visit, and kind of had his home away from home, but we never went there. And on one hand, it would have been awesome to actually get to go there, to get to explore it, to have this permanent jungle biome that would be a major contrast from Club Penguin's usual snowy kinds of environment. But that being said, I kind of like that we never revealed Rockhopper Island in the game. There's something powerful about having a mystery that's never truly solved, that just sort of is in your imagination currently, like, what could it be? What could it be like? The nice thing about having an island that we never really visit is that that place can become larger than life. We can start saying that impossible things happen there, and if we never reveal it, we never actually have to go there and make those impossible things a reality. So do I wish Rockhopper Island would have been revealed? Sort of. I kind of would have liked to have seen it, and if Club Penguin had lasted long enough, I think we would have eventually gone there. It was kind of nice not going there. I do, though, like Lance's joke that there was no such thing as Rockhopper Island, that Rockhopper was just horrible at directions, and Rockhopper Island was just the other side of Club Penguin, and he didn't realize every single time that it was a much closer journey than he... It would have been a funny joke. That I think it would have been a disappointing reveal for fans, but I always liked that one.
Number 8, more penguin colors.
When Club Penguin launched, there were 12 color options of what your penguin could look like. When it went offline, there were only 15 options. And in hindsight, that is wild to me, because adding a new color of penguin was actually super easy. Like, on a code side of things, it was the type of thing that could have been done in like a couple of hours. It was a changing of a tint on the penguin and making an icon for it and making an item in the database. That was pretty much it. We could have had like dozens of those things, but we always treated new colors on Club Penguin like it was this huge deal that was like, we're voting on the new color, this is what we're doing. And why didn't we just let a lot more colors be possible on the penguins? In hindsight, I wish that the penguin color system would have been more like a color picker, where you just would have seen like this gradient of colors and you just could pick whatever color you wanted from that. There's no reason why we couldn't have. And I feel like a bunch of you would have loved that. So, sorry.
Number 9, the Sparkler.
In making this list, I wanted to include at least one clothing item, but that proved difficult. Club Penguin had thousands of clothing items, and coming up with one that was never done was actually a challenge. But I think I found one that would have been very cool, and that is the Sparkler. Sparklers in real life are a lot of fun. They let you celebrate things like New Year's or the independence of whatever nation you happen to belong to. And having a sparkler hand item that's just constantly going would have been great. And not only that, but like when you waved, you could actually have had it like make sparkles in the air. You also could have brought sparklers to like people's igloos if they were having an igloo party or a birthday party or something like that. The possibilities for them are pretty endless. The only reason I can think of why we might not have is because it might have been too close to something like, I don't know, dynamite, I guess, or something explosive, and people might have role-played the wrong things with it. But I think we could have done it so that it was harmless looking enough. Maybe it only sparkled when you were doing the wave animation, and other than that, it was just a stick or something. I think a sparkler would have been a wonderful addition to Club Penguin for any special event.
Number 10, download the game.
Last, but certainly not least, I had always hoped that Club Penguin could have been a downloadable experience. I wish that there would have been ways for people to just download Kart Surfer or Puffle Rescue or Jetpack Adventure or Thin Ice or any of these games so that you could just play them offline. That would have been such a wonderful way of not only making these things available if your internet connection happened to go dead, but also just as a preservation thing. How valuable would it be now for people to just be able to boot up smoothiesmash.exe and be able to play it whenever they wanted to? Or the secret agent missions, or even a version of Club Penguin itself that you could just walk around, even if it wasn't filled with other penguins, just to feel like you're walking through a theme park after hours and just kind of reminisce about various memories or things. A downloadable version would also have been really handy for people making Club Penguin related YouTube videos, because you could have just had your penguin on screen, say something to the camera, not have to worry about other people walking into your shot or something like that. It would have been handy in a lot of ways, and especially when Club Penguin was nearing its end of life. Having that available for preservation purposes would have been awesome, and I wish it had happened. So that's my list of things that I wish had been added to Club Penguin. Feel free to add your own ideas in the comments. I'm super curious to see what you would have come up with. As for me, I'm off to do some real-life Puffle Bowling. Waddle on!
Hey.